Good afternoon, everyone. You can communicate with me via chat. If there are any problems with um, the microphone, with the sound, let me know, please. My name is Dasha Valnova, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar, The R Factor. I've got some really exciting information to share with you. In fact, I'm going to be giving you proven strategies for building the kind of life that you've been yearning for, the lifestyle, the career, and the future that you want. If life is feeling a bit stagnant for you right now, like you're just going through the motions every day and nothing really changes, I want to take you through a process that will help you start dreaming again. And I want to give you this proven process for getting from where you are now to where you want to be. These proven strategies I'll be sharing are already being used by top achievers around the world. People who have succeeded wildly in business, philanthropy, sports, entertainment, science, and more. They have got awesome lifestyles, terrific relationships, fascinating causes that are important to them, all the money they need, and of course, they've got the freedom of making their own schedule to focus on the things they want to do. And I want that for you too, which is why I'm happy to have you with me today to go through this proven formula, and it's just a matter of following the steps. There are 4 steps altogether, and if you had a chance to download and print out the workbook that's included free with this webinar, you'll see that there are worksheets you can do on your own time for each of the 4 steps. So let's get started. The first step to creating a different future is actually an equation that changes everything. E plus R equals O, which stands for event plus response equals outcome. When I first learned this equation, I responded to life's events as they came up. If I got a flat tire, I responded with frustration. If my bank account was in trouble, I was miserable. If there was bumper-to-bumper traffic when I was running late for a meeting, I blamed the traffic. That was until I learned this equation for responding differently to life's events when they came up. Here's the reality. Events just happen. Often you can't control them because they materialize as a result of specific situations, other people's emotions, timing, the economy, the weather, and a million other details that are outside your control. Events just happen. But what most people do when faced with events as they feel, this is what most people do, they feel harassed and stressed. They'll do anything to just make the situation go away. That is reactionary. And unfortunately, it often produces an outcome they don't want. So what's their first inclination? To blame the event for their bad outcome. Unfortunately, blaming an event for producing a negative outcome in your life puts all the power outside of your control. There is nothing you can do about the external events. They happen. That's reality. So the only way to get a good outcome is to respond in a way that will bring about the outcome you want. Here's an example. For me to get to my front door, I need to drive through a driveway where there's a unit that recently burned and is now being remodeled. So just last week, I noticed that there was a crew working on that unit. They just started construction. They blocked me, and when I needed to get out from my front door, I had to ask them to move the truck as they were unloading sheetrock. And they left a wedge that was holding up that truck in place in my path, which I didn't see, and my car got stuck on it. And then the guys ended up lifting up my car and getting the wedge from underneath. So I noticed that there was lack of attention to the neighbors and the neighborhood in this particular construction crew. And I realized there might be a whole chain of events that would follow with unpleasant outcomes for me, such as construction rubbish, which would create possibly a flat tire as I go through the driveway in and out. So when I returned from my errands, I did not immediately go through the driveway. I parked outside on the street. I walked through the driveway, and all the workers were already gone. And lo and behold, I found a handful of nails and screws, some of them already embedded in the pavement, which means already somebody had driven over them. I collected all that trash, and then I safely drove through the driveway to park in my spot. I changed my response to the situation as I saw it, and I got the outcome that I wanted. So today, the first step in this life-changing formula I've been talking about is to take responsibility for how you respond to events, mishaps, and catastrophes, but especially for how you respond to opportunities that come up. This doesn't mean you have to take responsibility for the event itself. That is usually out of your hands. But how you respond is 100% within your control. And it's the one leverage point where you can change what you get out of life. So taking more responsibility for your responses is the first and most important step toward creating more success in your life. You can be thoughtful and deliberate, or you can be frustrated and reactive and emotional. It's always your choice. And what's so terrific about this concept is that it puts control back in your hands. This is especially important when opportunities come up. Opportunities for you to get ahead or achieve what you want. Do you know that some people react emotionally when an actual opportunity presents itself? They complain that the timing isn't right, or they're not ready, or that it will require a lot of work to respond to the opportunity, or that they don't have the money right now. You'd be surprised at the complaints you'll hear from some people when an opportunity arises. But here's the second point about the E plus R equals O equation. You have to give up blaming and complaining about the event and focus on how you'll respond appropriately and positively. Getting back to negative events that happen, what do most people do? They complain. They tend to complain to the wrong person. If I'm upset about my boss, Erica, who has given me a ton of extra work to finish by tomorrow morning, I complain to my coworker, Steven. And if I'm upset with my spouse for spending on a major purchase without consulting me, I complain to my best friend. That doesn't solve anything because you're complaining to the wrong person. It's wasted energy. I need to tell Erica that her timing or prioritization of projects is unworkable and we need a better system of scheduling. I need to tell my spouse that I want to create a household budget so that major purchases are planned and paid for before we make the decision to buy. If I speak to the right person instead of the wrong person, the right person can do something about it. I give them feedback that I would like something different. Of course, the person won't always grant my request, but at least communicating my request is the first step to actually getting what I want. This is just mature discussion. It's relationship management 101. But what about natural disasters and other events that don't involve individual people? I can respond differently to those events too. I can leave an extra 20 minutes early for meetings in case of traffic. I can keep up on the economic news and put extra savings aside if I hear a recession is predicted. I can upgrade my skills so that I'm still valuable to the new management team after my company gets bought out. And I can have the right kinds of healthy foods in my refrigerator so that I'm not eating on the run or grabbing junk food because I'm too busy to shop or cook. Instead of spending most of our time blaming things outside ourselves, the weather, our boss, the traffic, the economy, or the current president, we can take action in advance and be prepared. We can devise ways to increase our options should disaster occur. Whatever the world throws at us, we have to stop blaming something outside of ourselves. So taking more responsibility for our responses to events is the first and most important step toward creating more success in our lives. Another important part of taking responsibility and not being a victim in life is watching out for something I call yellow alerts. Yellow alerts are little events or comments or recurring situations that you notice that act as clues that something is happening or is about to happen that is not going to work out in your favor. Here's an example. I hire Sarah as my personal assistant, and 2 months later, she says, "Oh, I've met a wonderful guy who lives in the Bahamas." But I ignore that. A month after that, Sarah says she's really falling more and more in love with this guy and also hates the rainy weather here in Seattle. A few weeks after that, she's buying bridal magazines and looking for real estate in the Bahamas. And then, all of a sudden, Sarah quits, and I'm surprised and unprepared and scrambling for a new admin solution because I wasn't paying attention to the yellow alerts Sarah was giving me all along. There are lots of yellow alerts in your life, like your teenager coming home late night after night with a rank smell on his clothes, or the senior executives from head office having been repeatedly visiting your department with no explanation, or your biggest client has been giving projects that are ideal for you to other consultants. You wonder, well, what's going on here? But you don't want to say anything because that would be uncomfortable. Unfortunately, because mature conversations and inquiries and taking action is inconvenient or uncomfortable, we tend to deny the yellow alerts rather than act upon them in time. The truth is, we are almost always given clues that things are coming. We are not victims here. I want to direct your attention to 2 different exercises in the free workbook that was included with today's class. If you don't have your workbook yet, you can download it after this webinar is over by going to the link that was in your confirmation email when you registered for today's webinar. You won't need your workbook to do any exercises right now, but to get the most benefit from today's class, please do the exercises sometime this week. The first exercise I want to explain is something called difficult or troubling situation analysis. Just like an unexpected event, we all experience ongoing troubling situations from time to time. It's just part of life. No matter how well you prepare to avoid these hardships, they sometimes simply happen. And if not addressed, they can trouble you for years. It's far easier to resolve the situation and then move on. What kinds of situations am I talking about? a teenager or sibling who is not speaking to you, a financial difficulty that's getting worse every day, a health condition that's annoying, nagging, or uncomfortable, a tense atmosphere at the office, that sneaking suspicion that your spouse is being unfaithful. The key here is to respond to the event, whether it's sudden or long-standing, with a commitment to resolving it, so you can move on to creating better outcomes in the future. The difficult or troubling situation analysis will help you get past the current situation so that you can focus on your success again. The exercise has full instructions in the workbook, but it essentially it asks you to analyze the payoffs or benefits you get for keeping the situation like it is, and then the negative costs of keeping it like it is, your part in creating the situation or allowing it to be like it is, and actions you could take or requests you could make to get what you want instead. Don't fail to respond to a troubling situation because it's easier, more convenient, less uncomfortable, less confrontational, keeps the peace, or doesn't require taking risks. Take action. Don't allow negative outcomes to be your fate. In the same way, you don't want to fail to respond to a yellow alert because it's easier or more convenient or less confrontational. There is a second exercise in your workbook called What Are You Pretending Not to Know? If you're experiencing negative outcomes in your life, perhaps you're ignoring the facts or excusing your part in creating the problem. To help you identify areas to take corrective action or take action to prevent eventual disaster, the exercise asks you to examine each area of your life and determine if there is a problem that you're ignoring or creating. You might be ignoring something to do with your health, or with your money, or with your family, or maybe your lifestyle or career. Whatever it is, this exercise will help you respond to the yellow alerts before something disastrous occurs. The next critical step in the proven success formula that I introduced at the beginning of this webinar is that you have to decide what you want. One of the most amazing phenomena you'll ever experience as you incorporate this formula into your daily life is the unexpected phone call or windfall financial benefit or the uncanny new acquaintance that brings you exactly what you want or need in order to achieve your goals, almost as if it were planned. Perhaps it's the universe rewarding you your new take action attitude by harnessing all the forces at its disposal. Or perhaps you've worked hard and have grown yourself to the point where you're finally ready to receive a benefit which has been waiting in the wings all along. But more probably, as researchers now believe, it may simply be a matter of your subconscious mind focusing on and recognizing opportunity when it arrives. Whatever the explanation, the reality is that what you want wants you. Your goals, desires, and needs are patiently waiting to gravitate towards you once you decide what you truly want. Of course, the main reason why most people don't get what they want is they haven't decided what that want is. They haven't defined their goals exactly in clear and compelling detail. After all, how else can your mind know where to begin looking, seeing, and hearing if you don't give it specific and detailed goals to achieve? There is a very powerful technique for helping you define what you want in vivid detail. I'll be talking about this technique in just a moment. But before defining the ideal life you want for yourself, here is a word of caution. Make sure that your wants are personally important to you, not those you believe should be important, or those the world expects you to have, or something your mother wants you to focus on, but what's truly important to you from the deepest place in your heart. Don't live someone else's dream. Unfortunately, the sad reality for most people is they simply aren't honest with themselves. If they were, they would realize their shoulds are almost always less interesting and more hassle than what they truly want. Here's an example. Many people who have become social media influencers or industry experts were working dull jobs and following a career that other people thought was fantastic. But their lives didn't really become thrilling or fulfilling or meaningful or even lucrative until they started that thing that was calling for them, that decorating blog, or started consulting with small businesses, or started writing cookbooks. Once they were living the life they truly wanted, all the necessary opportunities showed up, including the money. One of the easiest ways to begin deciding what you truly want is to ask a friend to help you make a list. Have the friend continually ask you, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? For about 10-15 minutes while they're jotting down your answers. You'll find the first ones you run through aren't that profound. In fact, most people usually hear themselves saying, I want a Mercedes, I want a big house on the ocean, and so on. But by the end of the 15-minute exercise, the real you will begin to speak. Things like, I want people to love me. I want to make a difference. I want to be significant in my field. Ones that are true expressions of your heartfelt desires. So that's a quick exercise you can do with a friend, and then trade places with them and help them make their own list of wants too. But to really create your definitive list, I want you to turn the page in your workbook and find an exercise called the vision exercise. And it will help you decide what you want to be, do, and have in the 7 major areas of your life. The vision exercise is also located in your workbook. This is an exercise to do privately, just you alone. Start by putting on some relaxing music and sitting quietly in a comfortable environment where you won't be disturbed. Then close your eyes and ask your subconscious mind to give you images of what your ideal life would look like if you were living it exactly as you want. Visualize your life in 7 key areas. Number 1, your career and professional life. 2, your finances. 3, your recreation and free time. 4, your body and physical health. 5, your relationships. 6, your personal growth. 7, your community work. As you go through the exercise, you'll be defining what you want to be, do, and have in each of these 7 areas. There are some ideas, prompts, and memory joggers in each section to help you think through your ideal life, but your subconscious mind knows what you want and should be the ultimate source of ideas for you. Even if you don't have the workbook with you, let's do a little bit of this exercise right now. So close your eyes and begin breathing deeply. Take another deep breath. And another. Now, imagine you're in your ideal home environment. Where is it located? What is the view outside the windows? What are the colors of the main living areas? What kind of decor or art objects do you have in your home? Is there music playing in the background? How do you feel as you stroll through the rooms of your ideal home? Now, come back slowly and open your eyes. What you just did was an example of the vision exercise you'll be doing later in the workbook. And it takes time. Don't rush it. If you don't immediately see images of the different areas of your life, that is perfectly okay. It still works just as well if you're just thinking of the ideal elements versus actually seeing yourself in those environments. Let your mind wander a bit, dream a little, and when the ideas come to you, write them down in the workbook. Many people set aside an evening to do the rest of this exercise. So tonight, after this webinar, is a great time to get started on this lengthy exercise. But it's an important one because these ideas will ultimately form a goals list of things you will be working on. Okay, so here's some really good news. Those wants that you'll be identifying later in your workbook are achievable. In fact, for almost everything we want, someone else has already done it, created it, owned it, or achieved it. So there's not much of what we want anymore that is so lofty it can't be accomplished. But the key to getting what you want, and here is step 3 of the formula I first introduced way back at the beginning of this webinar, is to set goals around the things that you want to be, do, or have. And how do you set a goal? You do it by writing it in such a way that it's specific and measurable. That is, someone other than you can know for certain whether you've achieved that goal or not. And let me give you an example. If you said, I want to own a house at the beach someday, that's a nice dream or desire that you have. But to make it into a specific and measurable goal, you need more information and you need to state it in a way that there is certainty that you'll have that beach house one day. Like this. I will own a 4,000 square foot house on Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, California by midnight, April 30th, 2025. Do you hear the difference? The second version of your goal tells your brain exactly what you want to achieve, not just a vague, dreamy hope. If you want to retire early with millions of dollars invested, for example, state the exact amount you'll have invested on the exact date you plan to retire. As part of the vision exercise in the workbook, you'll be turning all of your wants into specific and measurable goals that you will begin working on and achieving. And that's exercise 4, the second part of that exercise. And here is a bonus idea. Why not create minimum goals, target goals, and outrageous goals? Whenever you write down your specific and measurable goals, set 3 different levels that you will achieve. Let's say you want to build a large savings account and get out of debt. A minimum goal might be putting together $1,000 emergency fund in the next 30 days. A target goal might be to save up 3 to 6 months of living expenses in the next 8 months. And an outrageous goal might be to pay off all your consumer debt and even mortgage in the next 7 years. The outrageous goal is always something that would just blow your mind if you achieved it. Your target goal is usually something within your capabilities. And your minimum goal is something that you're almost guaranteed to reach, but it gets you going and taking action, whereas an outrageous goal might seem too overwhelming to even start. What happens with this minimum target optimum formula is that most people will start with the minimum. Then they get motivated and they end up reaching their target goal very easily. Have you ever said, I'm just going to get rid of those old dishes stored in the garage. And the next thing you know, you've cleaned the entire garage and even called the local charity to haul away a truckload of cast-offs? It was just a matter of getting started. You could even delegate the entire garage cleanup to a professional organizer or trade with a friend by doing something for them. That would achieve your target goal for certain. While goal setting is an important step to achieve the wants on your dream list, most of the goals we set focus on improving our life at the moment. Things like get the house painted, finish my sales report, clean out the laundry room, lose 20 pounds. But what if instead you focused on a single goal that would up-level everything you do, from your career to your career network, to your income, to your lifestyle? Wouldn't that be a goal worth pursuing with passion? Wouldn't that be something to focus on a little each day until you achieved it? Think about it. If you were an independent sales professional and knew you could get a substantial bonus commission and maybe even a promotion once you landed a certain number of customers, wouldn't you work day and night to achieve that goal? If you were a stay-at-home mom whose entire lifestyle and finances could change by earning an extra $3,000 a month, wouldn't you pursue every possible opportunity for side work or your own part-time business to achieve that goal? That's what I call a breakthrough goal. Something that changes your life, brings you new opportunities, gets you in front of the right people, and up-levels every activity, relationship, or group that you're involved in. What might your single breakthrough goal be? There is an exercise in the workbook that will help you decide. But for the purposes of this webinar, whether you believe you can achieve it or not, what one single change in your career, business, lifestyle, or relationships would boost you to the next level? Is it landing a promotion, changing jobs, expanding your business, finding your soulmate, qualifying for an award, going back to school, moving across the country, retiring early, or some other goal? Take time later to think about your breakthrough goal. There is a page in the workbook to figure it out and jot it down. Look for exercise number 5. I want to finish our discussion of goal setting by talking about a technique that will help you achieve major goals in record time. It's a way to get your brain focused on assembling the resources, people, money, and circumstances needed to bring about your everyday goals and especially your breakthrough goal. It's called affirmations. Affirmations are vividly detailed statements of you living, working, and enjoying life as if your goals had already been achieved. Affirmations help the brain focus on bringing about your heartfelt desires. One example of an affirmation is, I'm happily depositing my first $100,000 royalty check as a best-selling author. Another affirmation is, I'm joyfully receiving the company's top sales award. So how do affirmations work? As scientists now know, the brain is a goal-seeking organism. If you give it a compelling, colorful, crystal clear image of what you want, it will work day and night to create the opportunities, contacts, resources, and circumstances needed to achieve your vision. In fact, the brain has a special function called reticular activating system that filters through the millions of impressions, images, messages, and thoughts it processes every day and passes to your conscious mind that specific information that will help you to reach your goal. For example, if you've ever thought about speaking at your industry convention as a way to boost your career, and then immediately remembered you met the National Education Director last month at a trade show, that's your reticular activating system bringing you ideas and contacts that can help you achieve your goal. Reciting your affirmations frequently throughout the day actually focuses your brain on the goals you want to achieve. Writing them out on index cards, note cards, your smartphone's wallpaper, on a sign at the bottom of your bathroom mirror, or in other places you see frequently, is a way to constantly focus on your most important goals. My best advice is to write out your specific and measurable goals on 3x5 cards and review the cards in the morning when you first wake up and again at night just before you fall asleep. You don't always have to know how you'll accomplish your goal. Just keep visualizing yourself in the future as if you had already achieved it. It's also powerful to add color, sounds, emotions, and other sensory aspects to your visualization time. As you review your cards, try to experience the feeling of confidence as you deliver the keynote's address at your industry's annual conference, or the scent of cinnamon rolls baking at the bed and breakfast hotel you recently opened, or the sound of waves breaking at the senior executives retreat in Hawaii, or the joy you feel as you're living out your dream career or professional accomplishment. Repetition is the key. The workbook includes detailed guidelines to help you write powerfully effective affirmations for your unique situation, using your goals in previous exercises about what you want to be, do, and have. Look for exercise number 6. And of course, we've come to the most important step in the original 4-part formula I introduced at the beginning of this webinar. It's step number 4. Take action on your goals. Sometimes our biggest life goals seem so overwhelming. Though we may work hard at achieving them, too often we decide to put them off altogether until we have more time, more focus, more energy, or more manpower. We rarely see our goals as a series of small tasks, but in reality, breaking down the goal into smaller tasks and accomplishing them a few at a time is precisely how any big goal gets achieved. By breaking down your goal into bite-sized pieces and baby steps, you can begin accomplishing the small tasks that you've determined will lead to achieving your goal. But be aware, preparing to move forward isn't the same as taking action itself. In other words, preparation, research, planning, getting it perfect, these are all areas where people get bogged down and never actually start taking action. They're too busy getting ready. But one way that I recommend you actually start to take action on your goals is something I call chunking it down. If you had a target goal of saving up 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in an emergency fund, a sample goal that we mentioned earlier in this webinar, what steps could you take to pull that money together over the next 8 months? Could you, number one, determine the amount of money per month that you would need? Number two, identify what portion of your current savings you might use for this special fund. Number three, make a list of money sources to save, such as overtime pay at work or a holiday bonus. Number four, make a list of unused items you could sell on Craigslist. Number five, open a new bank account for this money before starting to earn more and sell things. Those 5 steps, which are essentially research and making lists and going to the bank, are all things you could do in just one day. And in fact, probably one afternoon. By making lists of what needs to be done, you've effectively chunked it down and all the tasks into small steps that are very doable and achievable. Which leads me to a helpful strategy for taking action. And that is practice something called the rule of 5. The rule of 5 simply means that every day you do 5 specific things that will move your goal towards completion. Bigger goals might take longer, but the rule of 5 still applies. Do 5 things every day until your goal is achieved. Take buying a house in Hawaii, for example. That is a very big goal. But chunking it down and doing 5 things a day still applies. You have to find out where the best locations are, decide which island you want to live on, find out how much homes there cost, determine how much money you will need to save, research where you can get your financing, decide where you will get your furniture, determine the repairs or decorating budget you'll need, and on and on. Once you decide all these things and chunk each larger goal down into small steps, you can begin taking action on these steps, 5 steps a day until you achieve your goal. While he didn't call it the rule of 5, a seminar leader I know once said, in order to arrive at the life of your dreams, you simply, 1, make a wish list of the activities, finances, and lifestyle you'll be enjoying once you get there. 2, break down each wish on the list into the steps you'll need to take to achieve it. 3, choose a number of those steps to achieve each week or month or year. And number 4, achieve them. That's the game plan we're talking about here for achieving the life of your dreams, or for achieving virtually any impressive goal that you've set for yourself. Is there something that hinders people from taking any action at all? Of course. One thing is the feeling that they can't accomplish even the smallest of baby steps. They don't feel confident. Another is that they feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff they already have to do. And the third is that they have to ask someone for something in order to move forward. And asking is something they're simply afraid to do. Well, let's address these obstacles right now. I'm actually going to start with the second one I mentioned. People feel overwhelmed by the amount of tasks they already have to do. Most of us have incompletes and messes in our household, offices, relationships, families, finances, and other major areas of our lives. We've got overflowing closets and broken screen doors and 6 years worth of tax paperwork and bills that aren't filed, and a fight with our sibling that is still unresolved, and a nagging health condition we need to address, and on and on. We have incomplete tasks and messes that haven't been cleaned up. So one way to stop feeling overwhelmed, but what you already have to do, is to clean up these messes and incompletes first. It's especially important to handle these incompletes because of what psychologists call attention units. You can only attend to 7 things at once. Beyond that, you can't. So when you have a cluttered desk, when you're constantly seeing all these papers and unanswered letters and 3,000 emails in your inbox, these things steal your focus away from the other task you want to accomplish. You look over your mental to-do list and think, oh, I should move that. I should put that away. I need to answer that. The more incompletes you have in your life, the more your focus and creative energy gets fractured and scattered. The other reason it's important to clean up your messes and your incompletes is that doing so builds self-confidence and self-esteem. When we have a lot of incompletes in our life, we're consciously or unconsciously judging ourselves as incompetent and incapable because we haven't completed them. Every time you look at these messes, they're reflecting back to you the message, you aren't handling me. We're either afraid to handle them or don't know how to handle them. And this fear and lack of knowledge compromises our feeling of competence. By handling the incompletes, we get more time in our lives to focus on those steps that will bring about the reality and the really important goals and dreams we have. So take the time to pull all your incompletes and messes down on one list, either on paper or on your computer. Walk around the house and note things room by room. Go through your stack of bills to find anything not handled yet. Share with your spouse and family which relationships are in bad shape in your life. Once you have these things listed, you can prioritize them. And then tackle one a month or one per quarter, and you don't have to think about the others all the time because you know they're on the list and they will be handled in the order of their importance. You can even apply the minimum target optimum model to the messes. What is the minimum goal or the smallest incomplete that you will commit to handling by this weekend? What's a larger mess or incomplete you could make a target goal to handle this month? And what's an outrageous goal you could handle, such as an incomplete home renovation over the next 90 days? Handling incompletes and messes boosts your confidence and creates available attention span in your life to tackle the 5 things a day you want to do to reach your really big goals. But let's address the third roadblock that keeps people from taking action on their goals. And that is, they lack confidence when asking for what they need from people who can help them reach their goals. Asking for the help you need is still a challenge that holds many people back. Why are people so afraid to ask? We're afraid of several things. Looking needy, looking foolish, looking ignorant, but mostly we're afraid of experiencing rejection. We are afraid of hearing the word no. The sad thing is that when we don't ask, we're actually rejecting ourselves in advance. We're saying no to ourselves before anyone else has a chance to. But here's an illustration to think about. If you apply to Harvard and you don't get in, you were not in Harvard before you applied, and you're not in Harvard after you applied. Your life didn't get worse. And think about it. You've spent your whole life not going to Harvard, and you know how to handle that. Someone telling you no doesn't make your situation any worse. It just keeps it the same. Well, there's a specific science to asking for and getting what you want or need in the pursuit of your goals. Here are some quick tips to get you more comfortable when asking. Number 1, ask as if you expect to get it. Ask with a positive expectation. Ask from the place that you have already been given it. It's a done deal. Ask as if you expect to get a yes. Number 2, assume that you can. Don't start with the assumption that you can't get it. If you're going to assume you can get an upgrade. Assume you can get a table by the window. Assume that you can return it without a sales slip. Assume that you can get a raise or that promotion. Don't ever assume against yourself. Number 3, ask someone who can give it to you. Qualify the person. Determine for yourself, who would I have to speak to get that accomplished? Who is authorized to make a decision about that? Who do I have to speak with to get whatever it is I'm asking for? Number 4, be clear and specific. Too many people are walking around wanting more money, more love, more help around the house, more recognition at work, more of everything, but they're not being specific. Do you want enough money to retire? What is that amount? Do you want to go on a date night twice a month? Do you want the kids' bedrooms picked up every Friday and the laundry done by Saturday morning? If you're not sure about the specifics, do the research of what it takes and make specific requests. Number 5, ask repeatedly. Never give up. Whenever we ask others to participate in the fulfillment of our goals, some people are going to say no. They may have other priorities, commitments, and reasons not to participate. It's no reflection on you. Just get used to the idea that there is going to be a lot of rejection along the way to the brass ring. The key is not to give up. When someone says no, you say next. Which brings me to number 6. Ask someone else. Remember, there are over 7 billion people on this planet. Someone else has enough authorization, is skilled enough, knowledgeable enough, emotionally invested enough, or otherwise capable of saying yes to you. Don't get stuck in your fear. Move on to the next person and the next person and the next until you connect with the person who can help you. It is a numbers game. Someone out there is waiting to say yes. We've come to the end of today's webinar, but I want to close with 2 things. Number 1, I want you to choose right now one thing that you'll commit to doing to create the future you deserve, starting tonight. Whether it's complete the Decide What You Want exercise in the workbook, or write your 3x5 affirmation cards, or handle a difficult and troubling situation, whatever it is, make a mental commitment now and share it with us in the Take Back Control of Your Life 14-day challenge group. Remember, when we share our goals, they are more likely to be achieved. Secondly, one of the things I really enjoy doing is coaching and advising people, educating people in achieving their dream lives by setting goals and taking action. This webinar and accompanying workbook are just a small part of what I do with my clients. And today I would like to make this proposition to you. I would love, as I know you would love, to keep growing our outstanding Take Back Control of Your Life 14-day challenge group. You expressed your preference for having a lot of players in the group, collaborating, cheering each other on, encouraging each other, and this is my goal as well. So I also know that a chance to get a free coaching session is a much coveted opportunity. So will you take advantage of this opportunity today? I invite you to speak to those you love and care about. Speak to your closest friends and family members and invite 5 people into the group on Facebook, and the invitation will be happening as a partnership of you and me working together. First, speak to the people and see if they're interested. Tell them what the group is all about and what we do there. And then share with me those names. And if they give their consent, maybe their emails or phone numbers. Help your friends to register through the link that you use to register for this 14-day challenge. I will send the replay of this webinar to you, and the link will be included. When we get 5 people registered, I will immediately grant them admission into the Facebook group where we run our Take Back Control of Your Life 14-day challenge. And you, my friend, will get a free 1-hour coaching session to help you to break through anything that's holding you back on your way to your outrageous life and your outstanding goals. So again, my proposition is to partner with you to get more people into the group. And when we register 5 participants for the challenge and they join the Facebook group, you will be scheduling your 1-hour free coaching session with me to get on the track, on the path towards your great goals and their achievement. Thank you so much for taking the time today out of your busy lives to join us on this webinar. And I'm going to open the floor for Q&A session. So let's see. I'm going to invite you to connect on the camera. You, Allison, you are unmuted. So if you want to speak into your microphone, I will hear you. Do you have any questions? I'm not going to turn on your camera. You can do this if you wish, because I don't want to catch anyone off guard. I'm going to turn on my camera if I can. I'm figuring this out here. Technology. There we go. I'm back. So if there are no questions, I see there are no questions currently on the chat and no questions asked live. I just want to thank you for participating today in the webinar, for taking the success in your lives this seriously and spending time on your weekend listening in. And I hope you're going to do every single exercise in the workbook and you will be well on your way to transforming your life. Thank you. Have a great night.